What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right. I want to show love to this channel as well. This is my main channel. I've been doing a lot more videos on my backup channel, but want to show some love on this channel as well. And before I get into this video, I want to shout out a subscriber of mine for showing love to the channel. Much respect to Bernard for the $10 donation via the PayPal. He says, man, it's easy to say that anybody at the crib can do what you do until they try and see the research that it takes and to care in doing the research. The Sha'Carri Richardson video and Westbrook coverage have been clutch. I know you rock with Russ too on the court. You do a good job separating the foolishness from the play on the court. God bless. Much respect to Bernard for those kind words. I mean, look, I just try to, you know what I'm saying? I try to be fair. I try to talk about anything that I can relate to. And I try to be honest and not bullshit people. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people on YouTube that are bullshitters. People that try to portray themselves in a way that they really aren't in real life. You could tell that shit. I'm pretty much in person what I portray myself on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much the person that you see or hear, you know, soon I'll show myself more, but it's the reason why I don't do that. I used to show myself more on YouTube, but trust me, it's the reason why I don't do that. But what you see is what you get. So much respect to him. I also want to shout out a YouTuber who has been very supportive of my channel, and that is Who Did It This Time. All right, that's Who Did It This Time. All right, much respect to him. He's an uploader. He talks about sports, but he talks about it on a deeper level. And please subscribe to that channel. Who Did It This Time? Much respect to him as well. So in this video, I just want to talk about one of the misconceptions that I see. I should have did this video last week or when it was a little bit more relevant because of the inductees in the Hall of Fame, but whatever. I noticed that a lot of people mistake the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame for the NBA Hall of Fame. And a lot of people will say, well, why is this guy in the Hall of Fame? In the NBA, he only played 4 seasons, or, he only had 3 real dominant seasons, then he was injured, or I just don't see it. This guy was a backup in the NBA. His stats don't really stand out. How is he a Hall of Famer? But what people have to understand is that the Hall of Fame, I get it. Some people look at it as it should just be for the NBA. But there's a flaw in looking at that. Because if you're saying it's just for the NBA, then shouldn't that be for coaches too? Because nobody bats an eye that Rick Pitino or Jerry Tarkanian, and a whole litany of college coaches will be or are in the Hall of Fame, but they failed miserably when they tried to cross over to the NBA. Jerry Tarkanian failed, if I remember correctly. He failed as a pro coach with the San Antonio Spurs, but nobody will question his placement in the Hall of Fame as a coach with UNLV. Nobody will ever question that. You know what I'm saying? So yes, the same logic should apply for basketball players who excelled at an extraordinary level in college, but may not have had the same careers in the pros. Bill Walton seems to be a guy that gets picked on a lot. I'm not trying to cap for Bill Walton and, oh man, he's capping for these old white guys. It's not that. It's just people look at the NBA as the be all end all as far as who should be a Hall of Famer. Now, if you feel like that, fine, but That's your right. But you got to look at why he's been selected to the Hall of Fame. Bill Walton's in the Hall of Fame because you can make a compelling argument that he's a top two or at least top three all time college basketball player. He won two national titles with UCLA. I believe it was under his play that they had that historic 88 game win streak. Um, all 3 years that he played, because I believe at that time freshmen were restricted from playing in their freshman year. So all 3 years that he qualified and played, he was the player of the year, the collegiate player of the year. During his tenure, he averaged 20 points, almost 16 rebounds. He was a team player, so his overall numbers may not jump out at you, but every night he was giving you 20 points. He was giving you 16 rebounds. He was giving you 4 or 5 assists from the center position. Back then, when centers played more traditional and weren't running the offense through them like Nikola Jokic. And blocks weren't counted, but he was probably getting about 5 blocks a game. And he was shooting 65% from the floor. Unbelievable efficiency. And until he fucked his feet up in 1978, he was on his way to having a top 10 all time pro career. Won a championship in 1977. Portland hasn't sniffed the title since. Was MVP in 1978 until he won it that year. He got hurt that year. But the fact that he won the MVP in a season where he missed 24 games shows you how dominant a campaign he was having. The Portland Trailblazers had Bill Walton not got hurt in the 77-78 season, which ultimately led to him leaving the franchise. Had he not got hurt, they probably would have won another title because that team was better than the team before the year before. And as we all know, Bill Walton never truly recovered from those injuries. He went to San Diego, played there, just stayed hurt, missed a ton of games. Um, had a little bit of a career renaissance with the Boston Celtics as a six man. Stayed healthy the 85-86 season. Was a six man of the year, won a championship, but then broke his foot again in '87, and that was pretty much it. He retired officially, I think, sometime in early 1988. Um, Another guy that comes to mind is Grant Hill. Especially younger fans of the game of basketball were wondering how in the hell is Grant Hill in the Hall of Fame? Now, I'm going to say this. Was there a slight sympathy factor for Grant Hill? Possibly. Possibly. Because if you remember, at that time, when he got hurt in 2000, right? And he kept coming back and kept getting hurt. And you're thinking in your head, man, look, you remember how he played in Detroit. He was a top, remember the Slam magazine cover, Just Like Mike, Only Better. That's how highly regarded Grant Hill was. The 1997 All-Star game, it wasn't Michael Jordan. It wasn't Shaquille O'Neal. It wasn't Karl Malone, or it would never be Karl Malone, but it wasn't Penny Hardaway. It wasn't any of those guys that were the top vote getter. It was Grant Hill. That's how popular a player he was, as well as his all around game. He was the LeBron James before LeBron James. Um, a lot less baggage. And I remember when he suffered the ankle injury toward the end of the 2000 season, and we just thought it was just a run-of-the-mill foot injury that was going to heal. But he actually suffered, I think, a foot fracture that was undiagnosed, and it didn't heal correctly. And then he just kept having a series of all these different various injuries. He was supposed to go to Orlando and form this super team. It never came to fruition with him, Tracy McGrady for a while, possibly Tim Duncan, but Doc Rivers fucked that up. As he fucks up a lot of things that we're seeing recently. And you know, put yourself in that mind, the time frame here. 2000s. Remember, that's when we had just seen Shawn Kemp eat himself out the league, literally. We saw what happened to Glenn Rice, getting older, uh, gaining a lot of weight. He had that tremendous '97 season, and then he tailed off. And then, by 2000, he was a role player. We saw what happened to Penny Hardaway, okay, with all the injuries. We saw what happened to Kevin Johnson a little bit earlier, arguably the best point guard from 91 to 95. Injuries just took a toll on him. Probably even more prominently, we saw what happened with Antonio McDyess. Antonio McDyess had been acquired by the New York Knicks to be a potential superstar. During the preseason, he gets hurt and he never regains his form. So we have all of these situations where these guys are getting hurt, and you're looking at Grant Hill like, man, what's going on here? Now, Grant Hill was able, after several seasons, to finally get healthy, but he was robbed of his quickness, he was robbed of his athleticism, he was robbed of his explosiveness. But during the time period, he did work on his overall other aspects of his game to try to compensate as much as possible. He worked on his catch and shoot game. He worked on his perimeter shooting, and he, worked on his defense. And he became, for another 8 years or so, a dependable role player. When you couple that with the fact that he was a great college player, and for 6 years he was a great NBA player, all-time great level for a while, that was enough to put him into the Hall of Fame. Plus, remember, he won 2 national championships back to back with Duke. So that was enough to put him in the Hall of Fame. Toni Kukoč. Now, this got a lot of people riled up. How in the hell is Toni Kukoč in the Hall of Fame? Well, it's not because of his NBA career. He didn't win 3 championships, of course, with the Chicago Bulls. And he was the 1995-96 uh, uh, sixth man of the year. Okay, but it's his over international career, what he did overseas, which cemented his status as a Hall of Fame. When you look at his resume, he's a 3-time NBA champion. He was the FIBA World Championship MVP in 1990, the FIBA Eurobasket MVP in 1991, 3-time EuroLeague champion 1989 to 1991, 3-time EuroLeague Final Four MVP, the aforementioned Six Man of the Year award. He's one of the 50 greatest players in FIBA history, 5-time Eurostar Player of the Year, 5-time, 4-time Mr. Europa Player of the Year, EuroLeague Finals top scorer, FIBA European Selection 1991, 50 greatest EuroLeague contributors, Italian League champion, Italian Cup winner, 4-time Yugoslav League champion, 2-time Yugoslav Cup champion, NBA All Rookie Second Team, 3-time Croatian Sportsman of the Year, Franjo Kujar State Award for Sport, FIBA Under 19 World Cup MVP, FIBA Under 18 Eurobasket MVP. And he won the gold in the World Cup in 1990 in Argentina, the bronze in 1987 in Greece, the gold in 1990 Yugoslavia, Eurobasket, 1991 Italy gold, 1998 in Seoul the silver, and he's a very accomplished player on the international side of things, and that was what pushed him into the Hall of Fame. Is his dominant international play, okay, not his NBA career. So I think people have to kind of make that distinction about certain players. Like they just are trained to think just NBA, and it's not just the NBA when it comes to Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. It's different with basketball. You even have high school coaches. I think even a few high school players who played at a historic level are in the Hall of Fame. So it's not just the NBA. There's different aspects of basketball other than the NBA. So I did this video because I'm trying to get that out there. Because a lot of people I'm seeing, they automatically think the NBA. Now now look, don't make any mistake about it. The NBA is the highest level of basketball in my opinion. Still, okay. You can make an argument that international players are a lot more, are better than ever, and some of them are coming in and dominating the league. I think that has a lot to do with the toughness of today's players. But the NBA still, I think, is the gold standard when it comes to overall basketball play. However, there's still other leagues and other entities outside the NBA that should be respected. And to be honest with you, that's an intriguing question. What happened to the great college basketball player? You don't really see them anymore. You know, I think that a lot of that has to do with guys are in a rush to make it to the NBA. And that I think a lot of these players are not as NBA ready as they once were. A lot of these guys, you know, we used to see guys come out of college and dominate in the NBA. Not all of them, but some of them were so great and so well rounded coming out of college that they came in and immediately dominated the NBA. Will Chamberlain, Oscar Robertson, Elvin Hayes. These are the great collegiate players. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, Michael Jordan isn't usually seen in that trajectory, but he's another guy. He came right into the pros and dominated. David Thompson, another all-time great collegiate player, came right into the pros and dominated. Walter Davis is another guy that was a great collegiate player, and he came right into the pros and dominated. That's one aspect of a great collegiate player. Is that their games are so well defined and well rounded and skilled at the collegiate level, so that they come to the NBA, they're able to just make that transition and be successful right from the jump. We're not seeing that as much as we used to. We're seeing a lot of guys who struggle more. They're not. Part of it is maybe they're not. They don't go 4 years anymore, 3 years anymore in college. Um, a lot of these guys are more focused on certain aspects of their games and not all other parts of their game. And maybe some of these guys are more motivated by money, only being good enough to reach the potential to be great, and that's enough to secure the money, the bag, and then they kind of content. Andrew Wiggins. So I don't know, but tell me what you guys think.